Hello, this is Charles Genet, and I'm going to make a presentation today on the flotation tank. It is the ultimate meditation tool, and I think we first need to look at the idea behind meditation. Um, when you start meditation, the instructor will tell you that the goal of meditation is to be free of thought. Well, that's like saying don't think about pink elephants, because the first thing you start doing is thinking. And the reason that you're thinking is to uh, delete information off of the brain's hard drive. Because the brain's a computer, it's a processor of information. It needs to store this information. In spiritual terms, we call this the soul. In research, we call it the hard drive. Right? So you have to know that the brain records everything that it experiences during the day. It records the light against my face in this video. It records the background of my kitchen. It controls the light of the sun coming through my window where I live at. It memorizes the temperature as it changes throughout the day. Everything that the brain experiences, it records because it believes it might need it to survive any type of mental, physical, or emotional attack. Right? It's like going into a jungle with the birds chirping and the monkeys squeaking and the lions roaring, and then all of a sudden that goes dead quiet. The brain will search all of its information to determine why it's quiet, and with the possibility that there's a predator in the area, and it will remember everything that it did to escape that predator, the path that it took, the area to run in, the position to take. All those things are held because the brain's never got past the point of remembering all this for survival. The problem is that at the end of the day, 99.9% of this information is useless to the brain. Right? We usually take the dream cycle and we play out what's been happening during that day. We play it out in pictures. Like in my lectures, I talk about a lady in a garden. She's wearing a sun hat. She has iced tea. She's pulling a carrot out of the ground, out of her garden. Well, the brain, during its sleep cycle, its REM sleep, where it plays its dreams, is putting this experience together. It will probably play it in symbols, like it will have a teapot with a carrot stuck in its spout with a sun hat over the lid and sunglasses over the spout construction, the structure of the spout. And in that one image, it will delete all the information off that it no longer needs as far as survival is concerned. The problem is that in today's society, we experience more and more things that the brain records, and we don't have a long enough dream cycle anymore to play that out, right? So whatever is not played out is stored in the brain's hard drive or soul, right? And this energy builds up, and all of these memories hold energy, and over time it has less and less power to process and manage health, mental, physical, and emotional, right? And it, if not addressed, it will create symptoms. Symptoms will become ailments. Ailments will become disorders or disease, and it will eventually wind up in death, right? So there is a great need to delete this information off the hard drive, because when you do so, you have more energy back, right? And that's why meditation is so popular today. Why? Because we have a lifestyle that requires that process to function in such a way that we can delete this information. Right? If you go to a meditation class, the instructor will say the first thing that you have to understand about meditation is the goal is to be free of thought. Well, that's like telling somebody to think about pink elephants. The first thing you'll think about is pink elephants. The first thing you'll do is start thinking. And as you start thinking, the brain starts the process of deleting this information off its hard drive by the pictures that are contained within your thoughts. Right? You can picture it like a slide machine that has slides of it and pictures. You just keep pushing the button, another image comes up. The brain deletes information in priority. It deletes what it most needs to release so we can get back the most energy, because the brain's ultimate goal is to keep your organs functioning. It might drop off everything else because it doesn't have enough energy to manage that, but the brain will also give you symptoms of what it's not being able to service and function with, right? Symptoms of mental, physical, and emotional distress, and all the things that go along with that, right? 9 times out of 10, we don't pay any attention to that until actually the symptoms move into some form of an ailment, right? It can be identified in medical journals. Then we start paying attention to it. But the idea is to be able to use meditation in such a way that you can delete information off your hard drive. Most people do it in 2 20-minute sessions. The brain peaks and valleys every 20 minutes. It goes through a cycle every 20 minutes. People get up early. They spend 20 minutes in a quiet surrounding, allowing that brain just to release whatever it needs to release in images, because it gets back the energy once that release is accomplished. Most people do it in the afternoon, maybe sometime after they get home from work, or during a lunchtime, or maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Some people, of course, do it in a class in the evening. Right? The problem is not with doing the meditation. The time is the problem, because your hard drive, your soul, holds all of the memories from the beginning of your existence to now. Right? And that existence can be as long as 1,000 years. It has a lot of information in there. And realizing that the brain is the ultimate computer, we have not devised anything yet to match the processing ability of the brain, or its ability to store information. Right? But now that quantity of information is beginning to fill up the hard drive after hundreds of years of life, and recording information that it doesn't need, maybe thousands of years of life over a long time. So we're beginning to see as researchers that more and more people are developing symptoms, mental, physical, and emotional, that they didn't have before, and we can usually relate those symptoms to the lack of, or the inability of the brain to process that information and manage our mental, physical, and emotional processes, because it doesn't have enough energy, because it's storing all of these memories. So if you go into meditation and you're dealing with 1,000 years of memories, let's say, if you do believe in past life regressions, then you will be better off by meditation, but you will never get to the point of being free of all that memory, because once you're free of all that memory, it becomes, you're a spiritual being in a physical body. You are called what is known as realized as a human being. And realized is having the full energy of the universe to be able to deal with. Right? There is a man who passed away. His name was John Lilly. He was a physiologist, psychologist, different things that he acquired over his lifetime as far as his intellectual abilities was concerned. Back in the 60s, John was hired by the government to see if dolphins couldn't navigate through minefields and point to where the mines were at so that we could get them, because during the Vietnam War we were mining harbors and stuff like that. and they were doing the same thing. So they set him up in St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands with a facility. He was given a dolphin from what is now called Dolphin Research Center. It was originally the facility that had the TV show Flipper, and one of those dolphins were used in this research. The problem with using dolphins for this kind of research is that dolphins are very playful. They don't understand that a mine can be dangerous. So when Lily would have them navigate out to find these mines, they brought the mines back to him, which was a big negative. So he decided to be able to change the purpose of his research, because Lily realized that dolphins had a unique ability to communicate over long distances. They had an ability to be free of disease, and he wanted to be able to know what was in their environment that allowed them to accomplish that. The first thing that he realized was that dolphins, by floating in salt water, is very buoyant, and it supports their weight while they're moving through the water. Because a dolphin that's 10 feet long can weigh up to 500 to 600 pounds. They're a big animal in the ocean, right? And by being free of the weight, the brain doesn't have to spend so much energy in processing. If the second largest software program we have in the brain, other than movement, is speech, right? But movement being the biggest one. So if you're free of the need to manage that movement, manage your position, manage the contractions of the muscles and the balance of the body to stay in a particular area, those are all done in microseconds of computing, but they're done with a very large computer, especially with a dolphin. So he realized that floating in water freed them of their weight, which allowed them to have more processing ability. All right. He also realized that salt water is liquid crystal. 70% of the earth is covered with salt water. Right? Salt water doesn't hold energy, it reflects it. Right? There is some research being done that allows us to believe that the ocean is what heats our environment and allows us to be a living species on this earth. You would think that if you got closer to the sun, you would get hotter, but it actually gets colder. So the radiation from the sun hits the salt water. The salt water doesn't hold it, it radiates it back, and that's how we create our environment and enough warmth to be able to live in that environment. Right? And if salt water reflects energy, it also reflects frequency, because dolphins communicate through brainwave frequency, and you can have a slaughter of dolphins off the Venezuelan coast, and in Florida the dolphins can respond to it because the extreme intensity of that occurrence has sent brainwaves from Venezuela all the way to Florida across the ocean, because salt water reflects that energy. Very important to understand. All right. Also, the dolphins have the ability to go down in depths of up to 1,000 feet, even deeper. And in that environment, it's total darkness. And we believe that when the brain is free of its weight, when it's free of the need to manage light, right, and it's a free floating being in the water that it can accomplish great things. Right? A dolphin uh, uh, can send energy out through its bulbous or its forehead, out through the water in 2.5 miles in a 360-degree circle. And everything within that circle, the brain of the dolphin has a three-dimensional picture of what is out there in its environment. It can recognize schools of fish, it can recognize structures, it can recognize where the beach is at. With anything within that 2.5 miles, the dolphin can be aware of it. All right. They are very similar to humans. Their brainwave, the composition of their brain is very much like ours. Theirs is a little bit larger than ours. They have fingers in their dorsal fins that allows them to go left to right, a thumb and four fingers. They have the vestiges of hip bones when they walked on the earth. They have more of a semblance of a human form than of anything else. We, in our physical form, have been around about 55,000 years in our current physical form. Dolphins in their physical form has been around about 4.5 million years. So the assumption would have to be is that over time we came from dolphins as compared to coming from apes. And the assumption from there is that in our evolutionary process, we've come from dolphins, a higher form, then now we're humans, and our next step down would be the apes, the chimpanzees, stuff like that, and then you would move down through the species, right? Now, this is a scientific assumption with the information that's available. It's surely not a religious assumption because of the religious books out there that tell us differently. But there is some data that would support that assumption. All right. So what Lily wanted to do was to create a environment that was dolphin-like. That the environment had to have salt water in it. Right? It had to be the temperature of the outside of the skin, so you could become one with that water, and it had to be completely dark, so the brain would not have to be able to be aware of that light. When those three things happened, the brain disconnects from the physical body, and it starts the process of playing out these memories in accelerated form. Right? So he, through the help of some other people, created a samadhi tank. Samadhi is the Indian word for deep meditation, if you will, so we can understand the possibility of that term, samadhi, deep meditation. And it was a 9-foot long structure, 4 foot wide, 4 foot high. It was a plastic tank that was put together rather ingeniously. There was 800 pounds of diluted Epsom salt in the tank. It was heated to the temperature of the skin, 91 degrees on the outside. And when you closed the door, you were in total darkness. Now, some people believe that getting into the tank would be very claustrophobic because you would be having everything closed in on you. But for that to happen, you would have to have a reference to what was happening around you. And that reference was in total darkness. The brain doesn't do that. Right? So you would step into the samadhi tank. Right? You would feel the warmth of the water. You would lie down, face up, and float. The brain would immediately recognize that it didn't have to manage light. It didn't have to manage weight. And it was in a womb-like environment as if you were being reborn through your mother again. In that type of environment, the brain disconnects from the physical management of the body, right? And it just starts dumping out and deleting this information. All of a sudden, you'll see a picture of what happened 5 minutes before you got in the tank. You'll see one that happens when you were 16 years old, or something that happened when you were 4. Whatever the memory was, the brain now has the ability to release that information, and it just one image after the other, and releasing that image gives the brain back that particular energy that held that image, right? The image is gone, the energy stays, the brain has more energy to be able to manage its mental, physical, and emotional processes. It's the ultimate form of meditation. Right? There are very few tanks available now. There was a craze in the '70s with these tanks, but there was not enough enlightened people to be able to take advantage of the tank, and they began to fall away in their manufacturing. Now, some companies are developing tank rooms, to where instead of going into a tank, you go into a room that has a pool in it, that has the 800 pounds of diluted Epsom salt. The water is heated to 91 degrees. When you turn out the lights, you're in total darkness. And so you have the total environment of the tank. You also have the total environment of the dolphin experience. Right? And it becomes the ultimate meditation tool. When you go into the tank, you usually spend about an hour to begin with. Each time that you go into the tank, your time in the tank and playing those images will be less and less, because of the brain's ability to delete so much information. There will be a time when you go into the tank and you will be free of memory. That's when you are realized as a spiritual being. Right? It is something to experience. Prana, the Healing Center in Key Largo, Florida, has one of these flotation rooms. It would be worth to be able to take the opportunity to give them a call. Just go up on your smartphone, put in Prana, Prana, Key Largo, Florida, and it will bring up your contact numbers. I think the price is around $65 to $85, according on the time of the week. I think it's $65 on Sundays, $85 the rest of the week. But for spiritual practice, to be able to move from a novice to a guru, to a master in a short period of time, and to be able to know that the brain is functioning as a supercomputer at full capacity and power, and that you can do that within a short period of time, justifies the need to experience the flotation tank. I hope this has been of service. If you want to talk to me any more about the tank, I'll be more than happy to talk to you. My number is 1-800-280-2802. I live in the Florida Keys. Our research on the flotation tank was sponsored by the World Health Project, and they've financed 9 years of research on the flotation tank to prepare us for our research on interspecies communications between dolphins and humans as it relates to health. And so we have a unique understanding and ability to communicate concerning the flotation tank. So we invite you to go do so. But please give me a call if you have any more need. 1-800-280-2802. Thank you very much.